Hello, economic students. Hey, we talked about the SEC requirement that every corporation provide an annual report for its stockholders and potential stockholders. And today I want us to look at one of those annual reports, and I've chosen a local company, Woodward, here in Rockford, Illinois. So if I were to go to the main web page for Woodward, you'll see up here a link, a menu bar up here, and a link for investors. Most corporations on their regular website will have some kind of a link like this on their home page for investors. Sometimes it will show up separately, as it does here for Woodward. Sometimes it will be in the About part of the corporation, which most companies will have. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Investors. Well, actually, I've already clicked, and I've got it right here. Here's the investors page, and if you go down, you'll see a link to an annual report. And again, every publicly traded corporation is going to have this on their website somewhere. The annual report used to be provided to all stockholders as a paper copy, and it would be like a magazine. It would be pretty lengthy. Nowadays, corporations will provide paper only if requested. Otherwise, you get it online. So here is the annual report. I've already got that pulled up. And if I want to scroll down, here's the cover page. And after the cover page, I get to a letter from the chairman of the board. Remember, every corporate annual report will have a letter from its CEO or chairman of the board. And in this letter, the chairman will talk about basically how the company did in the past year, and then future plans. And it's going to be a very optimistic letter. And, you know, typically, even if the company wasn't doing very well, the chairman of the board in this letter is going to try to portray things as positively as possible, as you can well understand. And then the letter will be signed by the chairman. So you notice, just like any other letter, it begins, "Dear shareholders," and then it ends with his signature. This is a pretty short letter. Sometimes this letter from the chairman could be a very, very lengthy, like 3, 4, 5 pages long in some instances, but this one's short and to the point. After the letter, you start getting into detailed information about the company. This is information here that might have been on the charter. Here's a table of contents, which you can see is pretty long. And then you get into pages and pages about, detail on this company's operations. So Woodward Governor has several different lines of business. So talks about the different markets that they sell to, and you have their aerospace division, talks about that, and you have their industrial division, and talks about some of their customers. But this is a pretty lengthy report about the nature of their business. As I scroll down, this is all dealing with the nature of Woodward's business in various levels of detail. And if I keep going down a little bit further, let's see, I want to go about 4 or 5 more pages down. Then I get to page 41 I'm looking for, and that's coming right up. And here we have a very important part of the annual report, which I discussed in the previous video, the report of the independent registered public accounting firm. This is the letter that every corporation must publish from an accounting firm that is not a part of the corporation, that basically is confirming that all of the detailed information that is found in this annual report is in fact an accurate portrayal of the financial condition of the company. So it says here, to the shareholders, or to the stockholders and board of directors of Woodward Inc., we have audited the accompanying reports. And it says down here in the second paragraph, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the company as of September 30th, 2021. Imagine what would happen if the auditing firm said, in our opinion, the financial statements do not represent fairly the financial position of this company. Well, if that were to happen, you can bet that the SEC, that Securities and Exchange Commission of the United States government, would be coming down on Woodward very strongly to see what the heck is going on. And you can imagine what that would do to the stock price of Woodward Governors. Woodward's stock would absolutely plummet. So a corporation needs to make sure that the information that they're providing in the annual report is in fact an accurate reflection of their financial condition, and this independent registered accounting firm will confirm whether or not that is in fact the case. Again, the accounting firm cannot be a part of the corporation that is auditing. The accounting firm must be a separate company entirely. That's required because that will help ensure that you're getting a fair representation. If the accounting firm is separate, they don't have any kind of vested interest in portraying the condition of the company as anything other than truthful. So that's the letter, and the letter from the accounting firm is typically fairly lengthy, several pages long, and that is certainly the case here in the with Woodward Governors accounting firm. And as we get down towards the end of that letter, though, the accounting firm is shown who did the actual auditing of the books, and in this case it was Deloitte & Touche, which is one of the 4 largest accounting firms in the United States. So you'll find that these large corporations will typically have one of these really, really big, highly respected accounting firms like Deloitte & Touche audit the books. After the letter, did we get into the detailed information about Woodward's finances for the previous year? And actually they're showing the financial position of the company for the previous, for the last year as well as the 2 years before that. And we begin with a consolidated statement of earnings. Sometimes this is called the income statement. And it's reporting net sales. It looks like $2,245,000. However, look up here, it says that all of these numbers are reported in thousands. So what looks like $2,245,000 is actually $2,245,000,000 in costs and expenses. And then they get into the revenue and the income. And then we have net earnings for Woodward of, it says $208,000, but since we're reporting in thousands, that is actually $208 million. That's how much money Woodward Governor made in profit in 2021. And then you look at the total number of shares of stock that Woodward has, and you look at the earnings and divide that by the number of shares of stock. And that means that every stockholder made $3.30 in profit for each share of stock that the stockholder owned. Okay, that's what that is. That's the income statement. And you can compare, actually, Woodward's income has gone down a little bit. In 2019, they were $259 billion. They're down to $208 billion in 2021. We go down a little bit further, you'll get some more information on their earnings, a little bit more detail on the earnings, and then you find another very important piece of financial information, which is called the balance sheet. The balance sheet is kind of interesting. It tells you the value of everything that Woodward owns. It tells you the value of what they owe to other entities, and it tells you the value of the company as a whole. So if you look at everything Woodward owns, they own, and again this is reported in thousands, Woodward owns $4 billion worth of stuff. You know, their buildings, their machines, all that. If you add it all together, it's worth $4 billion. Total liabilities is what Woodward owes to other entities. You know, they have borrowed money and such. They owe $1.8 billion to other entities. And then you have what's called stockholders' equity or shareholders' equity. The total shareholders' equity, that's basically the value of the company. How much is Woodward Governor worth as a company? And Woodward is worth $2.2 billion. And what you do there is you take the value of their assets, everything that they own, minus the value of everything that they owe to someone else, and that gives you the value of the company, $2.2 billion company. So that would be considered not a large corporation, but it's not a really, really small corporation either. It's a mid-sized corporation. And there's pages and pages of this financial information and notes on the information that's given. But as you get way down through all of this, eventually you get through all this detailed info on the finances. And again, for a layman like you or me, I'm not going to dig through that, but I would expect an accountant or a financial advisor to do that for me. And as I continue then to get through all the information, I'm going to get to a list coming up soon, unless I passed it. I may have passed it. Let's see what happens. Here we go. Yeah, this is what I'm looking for. Here is a list of the board of directors. Remember, it's the board of directors who are the policy makers for the corporation. And notice here, the board of directors are not employees of Woodward. They are high executives of other corporations, and sometimes they'll be parts of the government. For example, one of the directors of Woodward is Ronald Sega right here. He's the Chief Technology Officer of the United States Army. That's not at all uncommon to have governmental people involved as the board of directors. There's only one member of the board of directors who is an employee of Woodward, and that's here, Thomas Gendron, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the company. Everyone else is associated with some other corporation, not a competitor of Woodward's, but someone who knows the business. So you'll see that there's a lot of people involved in aerospace or energy. These are areas of business that Woodward is involved in. And so they know the business, and with their knowledge, they are able then to help establish a policy for Woodward. And after the directors, you have a list of all of Woodward's officers. And here, they are all employees of the company. These officers are people that are hired by the board of directors to put their strategy, their policy in place for the company. So that's a look at a corporate annual report. Every publicly traded corporation has one. And we are going to look at another annual report in more detail at another time. So for now, we are done. Just check Canvas and see whether or not there's anything in Canvas for you to do today. And with that, we're done for the day with your videos.